Hey everyone, welcome to Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook. If you're seeing this ugly mug with the beard, must be 7 o'clock Central, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 2 Hawaii, 6 a.m. out in Indonesia, and about 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. out in Australia. Welcome everybody to the show. If you don't know me, my name's Tom Springer. Welcome to the show Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook, where we talk about all kinds of everything. Every single Monday we have a squirrel moment or lots and lots of squirrel moments. And the guest that I have coming on is going to be no different. So just be ready for it. She's a return guest because so many people liked her. And, well, I like talking to her and everything else. So, of course, I'm going to bring on who I want. But anyways, please welcome Miss Erin Bush to the show. Hi, Erin.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me back.
Heck yeah. So,
Nice
yeah, it's always nice to have you on because we always talk kind of a little bit here and there, too, through Messenger and everything else. And like I said, I off camera, I follow you.
Yeah.
So I get to see what's going on with the new puppy and everything else and stuff like that. So it's kind of exciting to see everything you're doing. And especially right now, because we're getting right towards Halloween. I mean, we're right there. Mm-hmm. So you and those that you, I mean, there's no other way to say it. The other ones you handle are all kind of building up right now. Yeah, so everything's building up right now.
It's crazy,
right?
Yeah. But it's such a fun time of year. You know, I live in Florida, obviously, and it's hotter than hell here most of the time. It's been nicer lately. Like we've had a few nights where it's been, below 60, and
nice.
So that's a nice change. Won't last very long, but heading up to the Northeast this weekend, I have wanted to spend a New England weekend during the fall for as long as I can remember. So to be able to finally get to do that and wear sweaters and shoes.
So open up about that. What are you doing this weekend? Where are you going?
So for those who don't know me, I fell into this field about a year ago. Long story. But I work for Andrea Perrin and her father, Roger. So they are the family of Conjuring, the movie fame. And the house sold back in May to a wonderful lady by the name of Jacqueline Nunez. Hi, Stuart. And she is putting on an event this weekend and basically calling it the Halloween Spooktacular. So Andrea and I are flying up to Rhode Island this weekend. And we're going to be spending 3 days at the farm, which is awesome. I've only been there once. It was during the day and it wasn't for very long. I did a tour. But they're doing investigations. They're doing historical walking tours based on the history of the house, also Andrea's books. And then they're doing some special investigations with Cody and Satori of the Taps world. If you're not familiar with them.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Go check them out. Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, having seen it once in person live is the most astounding thing to me. But to be able to witness it again in live, but at the Conjuring farmhouse, like this is just a bucket list trip for me again. And I still am like pinching myself like, really, is this my life now? So, but the big draw for this is Andrea obviously is going to be there all weekend, and they're actually going to be screening the Conjuring movie in the Conjuring house with Andrea.
Right. I mean, how big can that be? Hi, Jamie.
Right. So who gets to do that? Right. So they're doing that on both October 30th. And then also they sold out the first night. So they're doing it on Halloween night as well. That's where I will be this weekend.
Yeah. Front row center
for real. It's just, that house is such a special place, having finally been there now.
Yeah.
I mean, energetically, I don't have a lot to go off of. I'm not an investigator, but I've never felt that kind of power before. That whole trip I was up there in New England, it was a 2-day paranormal hangover. I've never felt anything like it.
Right.
I knew I had heard of one, but I didn't know what that looked or felt like, but oh boy.
Yeah. We get them every once in a while when we go on investigations, because we do like weekend investigations. And then, when you come off of that, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm just exhausted. So, yeah.
Just when you think you're grounded and you think you're protected, and it's not like it's not from fear. It's just,
it's,
because people at the Conjuring, when you go to the Conjuring house, like, oh God. And I'm like, it's not like that. But again, intention, but still there's just so much history and energy. Just you walk in and that place is just thrumming with it. I mean, it's like walking into a wall.
Yeah.
And so, even if the energy is positive, which it was, it's still just as a sensitive, as you well know, it just kind of, you watch your battery go from like 100
yeah.
and then you're on the floor next thing you know. So
yeah, that's kind of how a lot of the times when we did.
Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan.
Jonathan's going to be there too this weekend. He's our
Oh,
friend.
yeah? He's going to be there at the same time, huh?
Yep. He's a friend of Andrea's. Their family's known her for years.
Man, I
We're
got to
gonna see him again.
I got to find my way into that crowd.
Well, that's the cool thing about it. I mean, this event, I just happened to get to go because Andrea needed some help. And I was like, please.
Right. Yeah.
But also the nice with the things that Jacqueline's doing for the house is you can go take a tour. They do a day tour, which is great. They're like, I think $25, maybe $30. You get to, the full tour of the house. You get all the historical information that they have to offer. Also the background based on the parents' story more than the movie. Yes, it is going to be fun, Jonathan. I agree. And then they're doing investigations. They're just, with the change in ownership, there's also been a shift in energy. Jacqueline, the current owner, is very much a spiritualist. She was not into the paranormal at all, but she just something about this house.
Right.
And so she's very much into energy and spirit, and really trying instead of capitalizing on the fear that the movie brought.
Yeah.
Really trying to focus more on the history of the house and the story as it happened with the parents, to try and correct some of the wrongs in the movie that kind of resulted from that chaos. So there's a shift in the energy too. And it's almost like I've said to Ken DaCosta, it's because some of the activity that they're having, I've said, it's almost like the spirits understand now that the energy is shifting.
Yeah.
And then they're almost trying to help investigators validate what they're seeing, because they're seeing things, they're talking about it, and then they're seeing it again.
Yeah, that's good.
It's happening quite a bit. So it's like they're stepping in. They're getting names up there now of spirits.
Wow.
Dates of death that they can verify. That's all thanks to Cody and Satori. So there's a lot of magic happening there.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah,
and that's a big part of the investigation, is actually getting stuff that you can confirm with. So, because there's always, I don't care where I've investigated, unless you have the cold hard facts, all it is speculation from other people.
100% agree.
Investigators. So, and you're just kind of like, well, you're speculating this, which one of you are right? And it really does come down to the investigator's interpretation and how they go into the house. Agreed. Because we've gone into some places where we followed other investigators that are like us, which are just trying to learn and just try to tell the story correctly. Yep. But then we've also followed other groups in who are very aggressive. And you're just like, and the house switches when if you're a group following a group that's been aggressive, those spirits stay aggressive until it flips back. Sometimes it takes a while to flip back, because they're like, well, why am I dealing with you in my place? Exactly. So it's kind of or it goes very, very, very quiet. One or the other. So there's no middle ground, I think, when an aggressive group comes in. They become aggressive or they become quiet. They're not going to be nice and show you them true selves if you're not going in there with a positive attitude, trying to help or just trying to learn. So,
I agree. I actually started talking just because of the energetic connection I have with the parents. I am familiar with some of those spirits just with the energy work I do.
Right.
They'll visit me on occasion, but I did this when I went there in June, is I just started talking to them like a week ahead of time. Just setting that intention, like, hey, I know I'm coming, but I think you also know I'm coming with, the utmost respect, the utmost integrity. I'm here to learn. Yep. I'm not asking to have you flip the switch for me, and I just want to take it in. Right. I'm just here to observe and experience whatever is in this house, and I just want you to know why I'm coming and what my intentions are. Yeah, because I do think that's important. It's like you said. I mean, these spirits, especially in big places. So you've investigated some seriously crazy places that are well known. Yeah. I mean, at some point, those spirits have to be like, I am not a one-trick pony.
Right.
Like, I don't want to turn the light switch on 657 times.
Right. You realize I'm here for a really, really, really long time.
Right. Yeah. So I'd rather be able to just and that was the thing when we were there in June, because it was a tour and it was so short. There's not a lot of time to tap into the energy from a sensitive point of view. I mean, I had a lot happen, but I haven't had a chance to just sit and connect quietly with the house. So to be able to be there for several days, that'll be the first place I've ever had that chance, because most of the times like I said, I'm not an investigator. Yeah. But when we do some of these events at the Paracons or whatever, and you get to investigate, that's a very different type of scenario
Yeah.
with 30 super fans, which is great. It's a whole different energy and it can go any way. But as a sensitive, it's very hard to like for myself, because I'm still new to tap in and determine like what's mine, what's somebody else's. So to have that experience with kind of unfettered access for a couple of days to just tap in, I think I'm going to learn a lot this weekend. I'm really excited about that part too.
Yeah, we've kind of done both. We went to a basically a vineyard and did an overnight, but the overnight was with a group of people. Like we went there with another couple, and we were just going to stay there one night and investigate. But it was a group investigation. Yeah. So they took us out in teams, or they gave us like, there's so many people that they said, okay, you're going to go to this location. Well, you go to this location, this location, then you're going to switch out throughout the night. Yep. And we did that. And yeah, there's some times where energy just doesn't like that much interaction. And it also doesn't help because some of the people we were with, it's not that they were disrespectful. It's just that they got there and then they were just kind of loud and not really seeming to want to be a part of it. They were just there with their friends. So they just
look at me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was just like, well, that's not really what this should be. But luckily we were able to kind of break off the next day and walk around and see the place on our own. But that night it was interesting because we got some stuff to happen. Like Nikki, my wife, for people who don't know my wife, Nikki, she's actually listening and she's on here in the messenger. But she had, I think it was her hair was touched or something else. But we had one area where during World War II, German patients were in there being cared for and everything else and stuff like that. So I started speaking German and they started playing with our flashlights for a little bit, but not very much. Well, then I switched over to speaking Polish to them and the lights went nuts. Because they did not like me speaking Polish to it in a German infirmary.
Well, yeah, from that time frame, that makes sense. That tracks.
So that was did that on purpose to see what the action was. Got some pretty good actions, but yeah, it was definitely different from a crowd to being just by yourselves.
Yeah.
So
and I think they're also trying to decipher how best to get the information out. I mean, we know, you may be a sensitive who's more in tune visually or insert Claire here, but they also get to decide what's the easiest way for them to get the message to you based off their energy, your energy, whatever.
Right.
And if you're in a room full of people, that's almost not even worth trying. It's like,
Yeah, it almost seemed
like party in here, y'all. We're gonna try this again another day,
Right. Well, it almost seemed like they wanted to interact with the people who were, like I said, our groups, like the four of us were there for the investigation. We weren't there to drink the wine and everything. Well, they were, but it was mainly for the investigation. But it almost seemed like they interacted with us and kind of left the others alone because they knew that's what we were there for. But it does make a huge difference too, and this will be very good for you. Because you're going to be at the house for so many days now and it may be different for you too, because they already know who you are. They've already met you. The spirits already know what's going on. But like when we would go to a place that we have never been to before, the first day it was quiet.
Yeah.
Because they were still trying to feel us out. And then the second day we did an investigation, we would get stuff because they were like, okay, these people are legit. They're not trying to harm us. They're not trying to be stupid. They just want to find out who we are and tell the truth.
Yeah.
But so you will probably get a lot more interaction over your time simply because they already know you.
Well, and Andrea's there.
And Andrea's there, yes.
Nothing stirs that place up quite like a parent walking back in that front door. I mean,
right.
So, but that's kind of what's magical about it is, she's so in touch and in tune with the spirit world. I see a portal above that house and it spins faster because they obviously know she's coming. As it gets closer, it spins faster and faster.
Right. They get a little excited. Yeah.
They do. But that's, I think that's a testament to how people treat spirits too, is it's almost like they're excited that you're going, and so they know what to expect. They know that you're coming in respectfully and as a student.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's part of the key thing is like, we don't know everything. If we knew all the answers to this shit, what would we be doing? We'd all need another hobby.
Right. I'd go back to bowling.
So be a student of the game, right? Like learn. I always think, people get so big, like big britches.
Yeah.
That you forget that we are still students and should always be students.
Correct. Yeah. That's, I definitely take my original mentor's path on that, because she always says, she's been doing this for years. And she always states that she is a practicing whatever. She says, I'll never be an expert. No one will ever be an expert. She goes, my sentence always starts with, I am a practicing this, psychic. I'm a practicing medium, so that's how she always says. Yeah, Joe's chiming in and saying, I think it'll be interesting to watch the movie in the house to see what reactions you get.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be interesting. We're definitely have to get feedback off of that one.
Well, Andrea's already like, oh, people are going to be like, because she's going to be back there going, that's not right. That's wrong. Okay, that's not right. That was right. Close, but not quite. But I think that it'll be interesting to see if the spirits help with that too. Like, that's wrong. Like, yeah. It'll just be interesting to see if they're participating in.
Yeah, if they beat her to the statement.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure it's not the first time it's been shown in the house, but I don't know if they're doing it inside. I don't know how many people are going. I would assume it's an indoor thing. I mean, it is New England in the fall. It's chilly.
Yeah.
Well, to this Florida girl anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what to expect, which is kind of what I love about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting. So, while we're talking, because I throw these up every once in a while. So, for those who do not know Erin Bush through Erin Bush or through me, go get to know Erin Bush right here. She has 2 links that you can go follow. The one that is actually the Erin Kathleen Bush is hers. If you click on that one, there are a series of different radio buttons you can push, and they all have different things like her Instagram account, her photos, her this or that, what she's been taking part of. All that's in there. So make sure you click on those and go visit all those. That's a really cool page because I did that. Like I said, I follow her. Some people I say I stalk, but that's
we all follow each other. Don't I mean, anybody says otherwise is lying.
Right, bunch of liars. And then Thriller Events down there on the far side over there. Thriller Events, www.thriller.events. That is correct. We verified that today, this evening. But go out to there, take a look at that. That's everything that's coming up.
Thriller basically is the only paranormal, supernatural focused ticketing platform. Yeah. So Michelle Roos started that along with and had some input with Maria Schmidt, if y'all know Maria. But basically, if you go to Eventbrite, all those paranormal things tend to kind of get linked under other. So they get they don't have like their own so they can be a little bit harder to find. So Thriller is really anything metaphysical, spiritual, paranormal, and that's all we do. So, you can set up your own events, you can sell tickets on there, you can manage your, get your payments in and all of that.
Yep.
And where they differ a little bit from some of the other sites is you get the money as it comes in. You don't have to wait till the event is over.
Like for instance, Unity just posted on there. Mm-hmm. And that's not until next November. That's November 2023. And that's already posted out there for people to start getting ready for that.
Yep.
I looked down really quick because I checked my phone because you mentioned Michelle, and just so happens that Michelle is my guest on not next Monday because I'm taking Monday off for Halloween, but the Monday after that, I actually have Michelle coming on my show again.
That way last time too, I think. She was first and I was right behind. God, I love that girl.
Yep. And now I got you guys swapped. So now yours is first. She's gonna be following you up. And I wanted to wait for her because I wanted her to get back from her trip. So we could talk about the trip as well. So
quite a trip she had.
Yeah, I followed the pictures.
So well, to get to do that with her daughter Brittany and so many of her friends, it's just amazing. They had the best.
I didn't know Brittany was her daughter.
Yeah, Brittany is Michelle's daughter.
No, I did not know that. Huh? Yeah. What do you know? So that's awesome.
You'll look at them now and be like, "Oh, yes, that is
right." I will.
So much alike.
That sounds so good. And that may be what it was because I kept seeing all the pictures together, and there was just something about them that I was like, God, there's such a familiarity between those two that I just can't put my finger on it. But hey, guess what? That makes sense now. So.
Light bulb.
Yeah. So that is awesome.
I love her.
So what else is coming up for you? You're going to that. So that's the short term. That's your
short term.
That's your 1 week, less than 1 week away stuff.
That's my lesson. I don't, it's funny because I've gotten to the point. I had a lot of things planned like at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And now that, with Halloween kind of dying down, we had to kind of enjoy the downtime of it. So I don't really have anything coming up planned that I can discuss yet. I know, right? So really for me, it's just energy healing sessions. I mean, I always am doing those for people, and I love doing that. So I don't have anything fun and exciting and new really after Halloween, but I'm grateful for the break.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Well,
been
talk about what you do for the energy healing, because that's very important for people to know, that
yeah, energy
it's out
healing.
there. So
We've discussed that quite a bit. And that's one of those things too. Like when you were just talking about titles of things, like they call me a Reiki master, but I don't like that because again, still always a student, always learning how energy works and how I can better help people. But I am a certified Reiki master, got certified in December of 2019. And then of course, COVID put us on lockdown 3 months later.
yeah.
So I basically took that opportunity between my certification date and really up till last August to just really hone and practice and work on it and see what my channeling looked like, what I really was comfortable doing, what my specialty was going to kind of look like. And so I think I did about 400 free sessions during that time period,
Wow.
just to donate time and practice and all of that. So for me, energy is everything. You and I have discussed this at length. We all know that energy is everything, but I didn't know about any of this shit until 2019. And I didn't realize it was the key thing that was absolutely missing from my life on every level.
Yeah.
As a sensitive, I didn't know a lot of the things that were going on for me. I was, I had a great job. I live on the beach. I have a nice, great husband, dog, whatever. But I was still so unhappy, couldn't figure it out. So go back to counseling, start meeting with this woman, start learning about energy. And I started realizing that what was happening, and this is where I think the disconnect for so many people is, we get filled. It's like like having bandwidth, right? You can only have so much bandwidth before you run out.
Yeah.
So then you start, as your energy gets filled up, you're not knowing how or understanding how to release that energy in a good way. You run out of space. So now you're pissed off. Now you're depressed. You're angry. You're upset. You're getting hurt. You're sick, because you're just holding on to all this energy,
Right.
whether it's the people in your life, whether it's traumatic experiences, the collective energy of the planet, whatever it looks like, you run out of space.
Right.
So at that point, you can't take anything good, and you're certainly not putting out anything good because everything in here sucks, right?
Yeah.
So for me, my focus when I work with people is basically allowing them to get the verbiage they didn't realize they were missing. I think that's what happens to a lot of people is there's this whole world out there, but they don't know it. They know that something's going on with them. They can't figure it out. Talk therapy is not helping. Medication is not helping. Exercise isn't helping. Something is missing.
Right.
And I feel like, and I don't know, you might be able to attest to this too. A lot of times that's people's first kind of paying attention that their soul is desperately screaming for something else.
Yeah.
So I've had clients come in and say, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I don't know you from Adam's house, Cat, but I'm standing here and I need something and I don't know what.
Yeah.
And especially with, the last couple of years with the way the world's been and everything else, it's no wonder. So I look at my role as an energy healer as an opportunity to give people some of the verbiage they were missing and just the tools that I've used that helped me be calmer, be more in the moment, stop dealing with anxiety. I had anxiety that was almost not manageable. Pretty serious depression. I'm sober. I've been sober like 7 years, but I drank all the time. Because I was overcompensating because I was taking in so much energy, but I didn't realize that that's what was happening to me.
Right.
And I know I'm squirreling all over the place, but that's why I live a show. I can do that and nobody yells at me.
Our show does.
But you get to the point where like nothing's working and you just had enough and you don't know what to do. So I think now, because this is starting to take hold more firmly, energy healing, because you're finding it offered in cancer hospitals, hospice, nursing homes, rehab facilities. It's becoming an adjunct way for other people to have an outlet to clear their energy out.
Yeah.
So once you start understanding what's happening and how energy actually works, and you allow a practitioner such as myself to come in and start clearing things out, you feel better. Your pain oftentimes, squirrels do rule. I completely agree. Things just start feeling better. Or you're sitting there and maybe, we've worked together for a month or so, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, you know what? That used to make me panic and now it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Or my back hasn't hurt in like a month. Like I always say it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
But it's such a beautiful way to be able to release energy start feeling better physically, emotionally, spiritually. And then you get some tools to start handling it on your own, because the goal is to not need me forever. I want to get you all, like shake you up, clean you out, get your chakras realigned and all that stuff. But then hopefully I've taught you enough, or you've felt like you've learned enough to where you can now say, okay, I feel like I have the tools now. I can go on with my life and apply them. See you when I see you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. So let me ask this.
Yeah.
This is got my squirrel cage running in there. During the pandemic, do you feel that more people built up their energy and didn't know how to release it, or more people began to learn more spiritually about themselves and how to deal with things because they were shut in and didn't have any choice?
Both.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering that, because I would kind of think that would be that's the answer. Kind of, I was thinking that some people would have their aha moments, and some people who were really, their outlets were sports or social, yeah, and all of a sudden they're not, and now they start penting everything up.
Yep.
And now that energy has nowhere to go, and if they can't go to someone like you, or they just don't do the work online, stuff's out there to help, but and like you said, even out there in hospice and all these different areas, it's becoming more readily available. But if they can't get there, they were penting them up. Whereas some people took it as an opportunity to go, okay, now I need to learn about myself, because I'm not worried about everyone else, because I get out there to help everybody else.
That's a fact.
So so how about now that we're coming out of the pandemic?
It's funny.
How is that working? Is it more people going, holy crap, I'm all pent up and I don't know what to do with all this energy that I built up during the pandemic? Or now is it people going, I'm out in the free world and I can get rid of all that energy I had during the pandemic? That's probably both as well.
I think it's still both. But what I find interesting is, like, I was a paralegal for a long time, which one of my bosses was a gentleman, great guy, loved him to death, one of the funniest people I've ever met. But distance Reiki picked up. Yeah, that's true. Making it for real. He really struggled because he was such a social guy. He loved football. So that, they had big cookouts and friends over and social this and go play golf and blah, 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 blah. And he really struggled having to be home.
Yeah.
And then, I was a person, when I got sober, I realized I wasn't actually a social person. I just needed alcohol to kind of loop things up when I was out. So, for me, it was great. I am much more of a hermit, but my problem being on that end of it is I have really struggled with reconnecting with, like, going to big events or being around a lot of people. It's almost like being in the dark for a really long time. And now they've turned on all the prison lights at once, So I think it works both ways. I think a lot of people, no matter which school of thought you were from, learned about the other side.
Yeah.
And I think some people switched to the other side. Like if you were social and decided to go within, I think a lot more people are choosing to stay there.
Yeah, true.
But again, I think it's a mix of both. But it's like, did you give yourself a chance to try something different during the time that you had shut in your house for basically 2 years?
Right.
Yeah.
My answer is no. I didn't, because my big thing is golf, and one of the things that we were allowed to do during the pandemic was golf. So my life really didn't change much outside of I worked from home. And Nikki had to put up with me for a whole lot more. I feel very bad for her for having to put up with me on a daily basis like that, and she couldn't run away to school to go vent. But the other
for anyone.
But on the flip side of that, she did not have to put up with some of her kids that she wanted to come home to vent about. So it's a kind of a catch-22 there.
Well, you have this side of it too. I mean, you have aside from people's actual immediate responses to how that went down as far as how they handled their lives during that time, you also have to factor in the effect of the collective energy of the planet on all these people, because now you don't have the social distractions that you had, right? And I don't think anyone can deny the fact that the collective energy on this planet has really effed some people up over the last few years, because what else were we paying attention to? Nothing. So pandemic, wars, shootings.
Yeah. Jamie, my life didn't change much
Jamie,
either. Other than the same amount of chaos energy. Yep.
Yep. And I stayed. I mean, ours didn't change much either. I mean, I worked way too much, so I didn't have a lot of free time anyway. But now I had all this free time.
Yeah.
And so for me, life got infinitely better. And then it was always, I'm not a very social person. You wouldn't think that watching me on one of these things, but like if I go to an event, stick me in you'll find me in the corner somewhere. Like I am not as.
It's funny because I am actually a known introvert, but yet I do a show like this. And people who know me know that if it was a choice between being around people or letting me disappear to an island somewhere, you'd never see me again. So, but it's just, and it's funny because people see me on here or they see me at work, but I'm such a good chameleon at fitting in with the surroundings that I can do that. And it seems like everything's good, but I hate to say it, but I really kind of enjoyed the pandemic because it got me out of a lot of things I would normally have to go to.
I know. When it started like fading back out, we were like, okay, this is amazing news. Like this is, hopefully, but then it was like, oh shit, we have to go like be social again, do stuff. And then my husband and I were like, no, we don't. We just stopped saying yes to stuff. Yeah. Right. Give me the island all day long. We've been talking, especially since this most recent hurricane, which fortunately for us, we dodged a massively huge bullet on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But we were talking about like, I don't want to do this every year anymore. We've had to do this like every year for the last 6 years where you're prepping. I mean, we had Matthew, we had Irma, we had Dorian that was supposed to hit, but didn't. So anyway, we bounced around, but we're starting to get more like, find me a plot of land.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere, preferably with running water.
Right. Not totally off the grid, but.
Not completely, but enough to where I don't have to see people if I don't want to.
Correct.
Like, I would need a t-shirt that just says it's too people-y out here.
Right.
But energetically, that's half my problem. You're probably the same way.
One that says, I want to be Bigfoot. So, yeah. So.
Like that. I would rock that tank top all day.
Right.
But I also have, we have the benefits of understanding, as a lot of your viewers do, that a lot of these shifts have been energetics.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter really what's going on in the world. I mean, it does just because of the way it affects the energy. But for those of us who understand how this is working, it's like you just have to figure out how to protect yourself, ground your energy. And for a lot of us, that meant staying home or being outside. Like you're by the lake and you love golf. So that was your escape. My husband's also a golfer.
Yep.
I'm a beach girl. So I think a lot of us who understand how energy works, we're already making this necessary adjustments to our lives to account for that.
Yeah.
See, Jamie and I must be kindred
spirits. It's a technical term. It's scientific.
I must know this person.
It's scientific. Oh, Jamie's a fantastic person. You two have got to friend each other. You guys are on the same wavelength right there. It's amazing.
Yeah. But it was the best way to hide. A pandemic was like, we were like, oh, we have to hide.
Yeah. Oh, darn the luck. So yeah, it was basically the same thing. But on the downside, it did affect a lot of people who don't understand like we do, and it hurt them pretty severely. Yes, and they're still working through it.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think it's going to be any time in the near future that they're going to. I think it's just something that's they're gonna have to reach out for help, otherwise they will never get help. And
it's fundamentally changed all of us on some level.
Yeah.
I think obviously to your point, I mean, addiction through the roof, suicides through the roof.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of these things are things that if they just taught energy the way we understand it in schools to kids, the world would be a much nicer place. People would have a better understanding of what's going on around them.
Yeah, I know. They think these things are real.
It's just a meat suit, y'all. Like,
right?
We're a soul in a meat suit, not the other way around. And I think that's why for me, the energy healing, like I don't push my business a ton just because my husband made a very good point. He's like, you don't ever want this to become your job.
Yeah.
You want it to grow organically. You want to do it because you love it. You don't ever allow this to become your job. So I don't push it a whole lot, but it really is what I'm passionate about because it completely changed my life.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have liked me 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
High strung, stressed to the max, like anxiety through the roof, basically couldn't function almost.
Yeah.
I was just missing the verbiage and the tools.
Yeah, I don't know what, honestly, I don't know what set me on this path to kind of take up this role I'm in now.
I think it just morphs.
I think it does. And it's funny because you talked about that. You don't want this to be a job. And I think if I really, really wanted to and turn this into a job, I would probably have more followers, or I would probably be investing more into it and everything. But I'm okay with just doing it the way I am.
Right.
Because I honestly believe that the people who need to hear me or need to hear the collective message will find me.
Yep.
And I really think that's what it's going to be about. I mean, I share this out. I share my show out and advertise to 17 or 18 sites.
Right.
And that's simply because people who want the opportunity, I'm allowing them to have the opportunity. But I am not actively going door to door, knocking on the door, going, look, you should come check me out. No, I don't care.
The lines are the lines, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and I like doing this, and I'm a little. I'll say it out loud so people who don't know, I am now part of another group called the Paranormal Existence Research Society, which happened very recently, and I am actually the hub for the Midwest to run that. I'm a little leery about that, so we'll see how that goes, because I don't want to take on more and have it feel like a job. So I'm hoping when it starts, it still feels like something I'm happy to be doing, and it's brand new. I haven't really had anything yet because it just walked into the door. So we'll see how it goes. But
again, it's a prime example of, I think part of my problem was I was so used to banging my head against the wall and like having to be in control of everything all the time.
Right.
So when I finally just said, F it, I'm leaving law, people are like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to figure out where the universe sends me.
Yeah.
Had you told me a year and a half ago that I'd be sitting here talking to you on one of these shows, I'd told you out of your mind. You couldn't pay me enough money to get on and talk to people live.
Yeah.
But I think what happens, and you're a prime example of this too, the more you start following the things you're passionate about, things just line up.
Yeah. Yeah. Because 7 months ago, you were on my show, and you were a little more apprehensive about it than you are now. I mean, we had a couple of talks before you came on.
It was like,
yeah. You had a little anxiety tied into that, but then you saw that this is kind of a really laid back, casual show, and you're like, I can do this.
Well, but I think it's one of those things. I mean, I had always lived my life in fear.
Yeah.
Fear and control, like needing to be in control of things. A lot of that's trauma based or whatever, but like I was very much a control freak. I wasn't so much a controller of like people in that, what time are you going to be home? Not like that, but
right.
Because of my anxiety being as bad as it was and some of the things I dealt with growing up, I'm probably known best for this, and it's a good and a bad thing. I'm a great anticipator of need. So like in my role as a handler as someone's assistant, that's great. But when you're doing it in your everyday life around everything, like you can't function that way.
Yeah.
Somebody described that as the best definition of anxiety I had ever heard. It was the constant need to anticipate what's coming next.
Yeah.
And, so when I finally decided I don't want to live like this anymore. I just decided to just put some faith in something other than myself and stop making myself responsible for everything and just see what happens. And you've done this too. And I think for those of us who have just kind of been like, you know what, I'm trying to follow the path that I'm supposed to be on. I'm divinely guided. I'm divinely protected. Things line up.
Yeah.
They do. They just do. I mean, and I think with the podcast stuff, I mean, when Andrea first asked me to be a guest on her show, I was shaking, scared, sweating, hot, red, typical Irish girl. Did a couple of other shows, and then she asked me to fill in as her co-host when she travels. So I do that now. So that's helped too. But again, these are things I didn't ask for.
Yeah.
These are things that have just kind of organically presented themselves to me. And I think that's why like your amazing stuff that you have going on. Same thing.
Right. Yeah. I didn't ask for any of this. It's just walking into my life
Just
right
walk
now.
into your life, right?
Yeah. I was asked, hey, can you go ahead and take over the Midwest region because we don't have anyone out there and people out there need help. And it's nice that Bill trusts me enough to say, hey, we've never met in real life. We've talked like this a lot. And he's talked to me on the phone. He goes, but man, he goes, there's just something about you that people resonate to, and you're for real. He goes, you're just someone that people just want to talk to. So I'm like, well, great. I agree. So let's do this, so I appreciate it. And I appreciate his faith and confidence and everything else. So we'll see how it goes.
But that's the beauty of just kind of allowing life to happen on life's terms. I mean, it's, when I stopped being a salmon, for lack of a better phrase, and just flip, as Andrew always says, flip on your back and float. Once I started doing that, now, of course, are there things that are going to come up? Yes.
Yeah.
That's like goes back to us talking about always being a student or a practitioner.
Right.
Life's always going to be hard. Things are always going to happen, and terrible things are going to happen. And that's just life. But I still get a choice every day on how I'm going to handle those things. Like, do I give myself the space in between, like freaking out and having a reaction, or do I just say, okay, what do we need to use to get through this now? Like, we're giving ourselves the opportunity to continue to grow and learn and accept the fact that we're always going to be growing and learning. But we've made massive leaps and changes to what we used based on like how we used to handle things.
Right.
And
that's so that makes me kind of take back go back to that same comment of how are people coming out of the pandemic energetically, spiritually, whatever. How are they coming out of it, and how are they dealing with it, or have they come out of it stronger and more aware? I mean, I know that's both.
It's both. Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it's
really both. But I think for some people too, that didn't get any sort look at the stuff that's going on in the news. I mean, people are just doing shit they wouldn't categorically do normally.
Right.
I mean, you have so many instances of, even celebrities doing just the dumbest shit that they wouldn't do on a normal Saturday night.
Right.
And it's not because they were drunk, and it's not because of this or that. I mean, people just are acting out of character because they're so energetically filled up with negativity and old stale stuff. Their only thing they can do is be reactionary. Yeah. It's all that's left.
Yeah. They don't have anywhere to outlet. They just don't know how.
They don't. So I think you have again, still two ends of the spectrum. I think people have gone polar or the other end, like, oh God, freedom. Yay. We're off.
Right.
We're off quarantine, but the world has changed. It's not, I think the people who struggle the most are the ones who are just adamant that it go back to the way that it was before the pandemic started.
Right.
Well, that's gone, y'all.
Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon in any way, shape, or form. And that's for the good and the bad. I mean, there are definitely both sides of that.
Yes.
So that's a big thing. But for me, and it may just be because I was so ignorant and naive beforehand, because I did not have my awakening until basically we were in the midst of the pandemic, or but for me coming out of it, and a lot of the people on that side over in the comment section will be able to comment on this, but so I'll ask the question to the audience, because you're like me, you're newer to this. Is the spiritual awakening bigger now in 2022 than it was in 2018, 2019? Is that a great
question? I love it.
How does that work for those who have been doing it for a while? Have what you've seen, what you've heard, what you've been going through, have you seen more of an awakening? Because like I said, for me, I don't know any difference. Back in 2018, 2019, when all this was taking place, I was still, I was definitely not who I am now.
Right.
As far as spiritually awakened. Yeah. So I was kind of, and the only way I can really describe it is I was in the Matrix, type of thing. So yeah. So my audience needs to chime in and let me know what's going on there. Let us know what's going on there, because you and I kind of walked into this at the same time.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, mine started July 2019.
Yeah, so mine was even later.
Right.
Mine was 2021. So mine was even later.
And we got the bitch slap awakening. Let's be honest. Like when this starts happening to those of us who come into this later, you really want to spend the first 6 or 8 months in a fetal position in the corner, rocking and crying. Like, you know.
See, and I was too dumb to do that. I was just like, what is this? Cool, let's run with it. What else you got? Cool, let's run with that too. What else you got? So
same thing. But when it first, like, of course everybody's is different. But for me, it was it was like they were watching, going, okay, she's awake. She understands now.
Right.
She's aware. So let's hit her with everything we got.
Yeah.
Let's make her see things, hear things, taste things. I mean, it was just, for me, it was more the overwhelm of all the rush of sensitive information coming from outside anything I could see.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Because that's when I started hearing and seeing, and like you said, touching and smelling, and all of it came around, and you were like, "What is this? Holy crap!"
And it was like they flip a switch. Well, it's off, and then it's on, and you can't turn it off at first.
And it was, I mean, I sat there, and I guess, metaphorically speaking, I was like, "What shrooms did I just take?"
Permanent trip, right?
Don't remember taking it. How did this happen? So Jamie has an answer, kind of. She said it's just a different level. The foundation has been set and happening in levels for at least 50 years. So you mean since I've been, so I'm going to take this as a compliment then, and I'm going to take this all about me, Jamie. So since I was born, this has been happening. Because since I'm 50 years old, this is all about me now. So apparently that's this foundation is set has been happening since I was born.
I think she's
bringing me to the point I am now. So
look at it this way. I mean, I don't think you and I have necessarily had this discussion, but I've had this discussion, and maybe Jamie can reply here, is, normally in decades past, you're dealing with a war.
Yeah.
Or like, even take the 60s, for example, you had a war and massive civil unrest, right? Yeah. Two things definitely earth-shaking happening at once. But we've got war. We've got more school shootings than we know what to do with. You have pandemic. You've got the most screwed up political system on the planet.
Goodness.
Right? I'm not even going to get into the politics. But like all these things that typically when you had big changes over decades of time, where it was maybe one or two things at once, now we're dealing with things at like 5 and 6 at a time on a world-shaking scale.
Yeah. So
I think she's right. It's like coming to a head.
Yeah. It's kind of like they went, hold on, they've been doing this way too well. They're
like, all right, let's take out the big guns, guys. Let's go. Let's give it to them all at once. And
they've been doing way too good on this test. Now we're going to take away all their cheat sheets and all their notes and say, all right, now what? So Jamie is saying she could not shut the energy out. She has always had the clairs. Didn't know how to observe, not absorb.
Me too.
And that's what Nikki said too. I still don't know how to observe and not absorb.
Oh, girl, we got to talk.
Yeah, she has that issue a lot. So she will need to speak with you because it makes her exhausted every day. And it's hard on her physically as well as emotionally. Mm-hmm. So sorry, Nikki, I'm selling you out, but
I think that's true of a lot of sensitives. I mean,
I do too. So
you even watch some of the TV shows that are currently out on Netflix. And I haven't finished it yet, but I've watched the first like 3 or 4 episodes, but I'm watching some of these sensitives and I'm going, okay, these are people who know what their abilities are, but they don't know how to ground and protect their energy.
Right. Yeah.
She's like, teach me.
Yeah.
But that's what happens is, people spend so much time jumping into their abilities, which is amazing because that's the thing that connects us to spirit. That's what I feel like we have a personal duty to spirit to.
She said duty.
Tap into that, right? I'll start singing the Mr. Hanky Christmas Poo song. Don't put it past me. But I think that's great. You know what your abilities are.
Yeah.
But if you're at a location and within 30 minutes you have no gas and you're, there's something that's missing to me. I'm not saying that's always the case because we all know there's energy you run up against that it doesn't matter how well you're grounded. But if you're at a normal location that is known to be haunted without some crazy ass energy that people can't handle, then there's something missing from your routine, right? I know for me, a lot of it, these bracelets, I wear these everywhere. People are like, oh, they're so pretty. I'm like, they're pretty, but they all serve a purpose.
Yeah.
For me.
And that's, yeah. And I agree with that, which is funny to me. So again, it's a little different. I think I have a little anomaly going here. I walk into a place.
You have armor.
And yeah, and I'm just like, but I never have to worry about turning it on or turning it off. It is just always there. I never have to. I don't think I've ever prepped walking into a place at all.
Yeah.
I just walk in, kick the doors in, and be like, "Let's go." So.
Well, I think once you find your thing,
yeah,
then I think that's the way that it typically works.
Yeah.
Like once because I think some of us, for me, I put a lot of faith in these rocks on my arms.
Yeah.
But you and I've discussed it. It's anything you assign intent to, anything you assign power to.
Yeah.
Is what's going to help you. But you have to have a balance of those things, right? You have to be able to ground and protect your energy, not from the scary stuff, but just look at yourself like a battery.
Yeah. And that's funny you say that, because I am the Energizer Bunny on investigations. Everybody on our team would either take stuff from me or hug me or something else, because I can just give them the energy, because I don't run out, because I don't have that filter to where it just drains my battery. I'm always amped.
Yeah.
And people can feel it on me. They're like, oh my goodness, how are you still running like this? When we're all just like, oh man. And I'm like, no, so
Tom doesn't need any coffee.
Yeah, no, and I don't drink coffee, which is even worse. So good Lord, imagine if I drank coffee. Oh my goodness. So
but I think that too. I mean, energy, because you and me on an investigation, people either love or hate us. Because I'm very much that way. And I think this weekend will be a good test.
Yeah.
But like, for example, when I was up in the Northeast in June, so I was able to go to Johnny Zaffis's museum at his place, which, holy shit, energy. So we did that. And then we had the day tour of the farmhouse. And then I did an investigation with a private investigation with Rise Up Paranormal, all over like 72 hours. Mm-hmm. And I thought I had done enough. Nope. Not even close. Nope. Not even close. So, I learned a lot that trip.
Yeah.
I thought I had done all the right things and nothing happened to me. I mean, I got my first scratch. No big deal. I thought that was kind of cool or whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I was more preparing for negative stuff more so than just massively high levels of energy, regardless of what kind of energy it is.
Right.
So it knocked me on my ass. And this was just a couple months ago. So again, it goes back to us still talking about, you're still a student of the game.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I was talking to Andrea. I'm like, okay, I'm going to step up, X, Y, and Z when I come up this time, because it's not a 3-hour tour of, we're not Gilligan's Islanding this particular trip. This is 3 days on this property. And so I think, but for people like Nicole, for other people that are sensitives that know it, it's still just getting the right thing that works for you to help you feel more protected and grounded. And I'm like you, I don't have to do it everywhere anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I throw my bracelets on, I have my affirmations and my intentions. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But again, also coming home, I usually will, I have a sage spray.
Sage. Yep.
Florida water.
Spray, yep.
There's still a routine to it, even when you're home.
Yeah, we do the same. And that's because, and we do it mostly. I'm not really worried about myself too much, but we sage the hell out of everything we brought with us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because when you open up our garage and we're done saging, it looks like Cheech and Chong was hanging out in our garage. So, so it's pretty funny to walk into there and just be total covered in smoke. But for me, I'm not really worried about it, but I make sure Nikki's saged, and we have a sage spray, but then we bring out the sage sticks and we sage everything else as far as our equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to spray the any kind of fluid on, the electronics. Probably not a wise thing to do. But yeah, so we have that same thing that I know I'm protected. She knows she's protected. But we still take care of it when we come home.
Yeah. You have to.
It's on the off chance. So.
Well, and people too, they forget, it's one thing to be on an investigation or at an event or doing a spooky thing.
Yeah.
But that energy still affects you when you're at Target or at your neighbor's house or at church or in your car or whatever. And I think that's the piece that people are missing.
Yeah.
Especially sensitives. They're so used to the paranormal world that when they're in their day-to-day, it's like, I'm just running to Target. It's like, oh, well, you're running into Target along with the 300 other people whose energetic fields you're going to pass
right
in those aisles.
Yep.
You're picking up stuff, so that's the thing. That's the piece people are missing.
And that's why I don't like crowds.
Same.
I've
never liked them.
I do not. Nope. I do not. In fact, we did a golf tournament yesterday, and it was in okay, so you'll appreciate this, and anyone who golfs will appreciate this. We were in a golf tournament yesterday here in Omaha, Nebraska, where the winds were a steady 25 miles per hour with gusts up to 50 miles per hour. So it was a fantastic day of golf, let me tell you. But then afterwards, we did the dinner. And at one point, we're sitting in here, and there's just so much buzz, and I was just like, I gotta go. Like, it was just too much for me. And I was like, no, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. So, and that was just the energy that was coming through from everybody. And I'm not one that deals, I mean, I can, and I have to for a lot of times, but I just don't deal with other people's energies if I don't have to.
Same.
So Jamie's commenting, there's so much negative energy worldwide. We have to activate the people who have been in place just waiting.
Yep. It's happening.
Yeah.
It's been happening a lot.
These are some of the comments that are from before, because Jamie actually brings back up the Reiki really helps with that. When we're talking about observing, not absorbing. She's talking about that. She goes, do Reiki. And then Nikki kind of sells herself out. She's like, Jamie, I am a certified trained category 1 and 2 Reiki. I'm just lazy. So.
Well, but again, here's how I look at Reiki. Reiki, my energy practice looks vastly different now than when I first got certified. Right. I basically see the training gives you the building blocks of how energy works and how the symbols work and the benefits of the symbols. But then you get to run with it and make it your own from there.
Yeah.
At that point. And it was suggested me to do Reiki. That's how I got into it, was because my intuition was so all over the place. I know what the hell was going on. That the lady I was working with was like, just take a Reiki 1 course. It will help all of that understanding come into play for you.
Yeah.
Because people don't understand about Taurus energy fields and, the effects of walking in other people's energy fields all the time. There's just a lot more to it.
Yeah.
And there's so much great stuff in that foundational work to get you to understand how energy works. But there's, again, like you said, you always feel protected. You have your thing. It's like, instant for you. It doesn't require any effort, right?
But I have been yelled at for that. I have been yelled at the fact that because I guard myself so well, I don't allow opportunity for anything to penetrate because I'm so guarded against not only energy, but also people, that I don't allow that to come in. So they're telling me it's good to have a guard up, but you need to identify what your guard is for. And
that's true.
I have a guard up for everything. and I acknowledge the fact that that's because of my upbringing and my military background.
Yeah.
But that is something that I've been told. And I understood the conversation, but I dismissed the conversation because I'm comfortable where I am.
And that's the thing. That's, I think some of my problems with the spiritual community currently is you get a lot of people who say you have to do it this way.
Right.
You have to do it this way, and it's going to cost you $500 a session to figure that shit out.
Yep.
I don't like that. I feel like as I've always called I don't like the word coach. I hate the word coach. I despise that word. I don't like the word healer either, because it's not my energy we're using. We're channeling. I'm just the battery, y'all. That's it.
Yeah.
But there is power in knowledge.
Yeah.
There's power in giving yourself the benefit of the doubt to explore those things. But I also am a firm believer, like, if you have those boundaries in place and those walls up, you'll figure them out when the timing is right.
Right.
Or you won't, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of, it has to be, and it should be in my line of work, less the paranormals, more in the healers world.
Yeah, in the energy side. Yeah.
Everybody's different. all healers are different. All people are different. All sensitives are different. And you know me well enough to know now, on just about any show I'm watching or I'm on, my question is always to people, what's your favorite way to ground and protect your energy?
Yeah.
Because no one does it the same way.
Right.
And as a student, I always like to ask people, because I may add something on that I hadn't thought about, or change something up, because I don't have all the answers. I'm never going to have all the answers. And I tell everyone that my role in energy work is as your guide. I'm just basically here to facilitate a safe space for you to heal.
Yeah.
I will offer the tools to you. I only have one rule when I do energy work, and that's, if I ask you to drink water, drink all of the water, please. That's it. Yeah. Everything else is a suggestion. I am just giving you tools. What you decide to do with them or don't is totally up to you. I'm not going to yell at you, not going to cuss you out. And I'm certainly not going to charge you an arm and a fucking leg more than what an attorney charges. Sorry for the F-bomb.
Personal advisory. That's why I put it up there. Ladies and gentlemen, Erin Bush. That's why that's up there.
You're all weak. But I think, that's one of those things that I really struggle with, is because, I know people who were charging, and it's nothing wrong with it. It's an issue that I personally have. I am of the mindset, I have these abilities and I feel like I should use them to benefit my fellow man.
Right.
Should I be compensated for the training and the time and the work that I've done? Sure. But I'm not going to charge you $150 or $300 a session to do that.
Right.
I'd rather more people be able to have access to the information and be able to heal than worry about padding my own pocket.
Yep.
Because anyway, I could go off on a whole nother soapbox, but I don't want to get fired today. So,
well, just so you know, because I'll answer your question, the one you ask everybody, because mine hasn't changed. I still don't ground at all in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And you already know how my energy fields work, or how my shields work. So that's, again, I've never felt the need to ground. I attempted to, when I've gone outside after an investigation, to hug a tree and plant my feet and try to get the roots to grow and everything. I end up staring at the stars going, pretty.
I know.
That's kind of, I don't, for me, I just don't have the need, I don't feel, to do it. So I don't ground, I don't. It's funny because sometimes I feel like I'm like, man, I might be wrong on this method because everybody I know grounds, but I don't.
I think your grounding is built into your suit.
Yeah, I think it is too. I just think it's just kind of an all-encompassing part of my alpha male type of personality. So,
but again, that's the thing. I don't find anything wrong with any of that. I just am interested because of the differences in people, the differences in practice. You know, I'm definitely more of a grounder than a protector. I have to remind myself to protect in certain cases. Yeah. But it's, for me, again, people are like, oh, well, it's because you're scared. No, it's just because as a sensitive, you get drained. It's like we glow differently, Right. Almost like if everybody else is black and white, we're like Technicolor, tie-dye 60s fluorescent, whatever. So you just tend to get affected more that way because you shine a little different. They may notice you first.
Right.
And I have to be careful too as an energy healer because I do a lot of work with Andrea energetically to kind of keep her grounded.
Right.
I got to be real careful with my own because of what, watching the news and all this other shit. Like if my energy level is suffering because of that, I'm no good to people.
I will tell you what, I work with a guy who is definitely a negative. Oh my goodness. He just rants at the world at anything he reads. And almost a year ago, he has decided that he is not going to watch any news at all.
Totally different guy.
He has become so different. But just to see if he's really different, I bring up the topics.
Nice.
And he reverts right back to the angry old man, get off my lawn guy, that he's always been, And I told him, I go, and every time I do it, I tell him, you need to keep working at it. He always like, you're stop instigating. And I'm like, I'm just checking.
Well, I think too, you have there, I think a lot of us tend to be super black or super white. So we're either like all in or all out or no news or, like it's okay to be gray.
Yeah.
And I think that's where change happens, right? Because I know for me, one of the things and this is a stupid analogy, but it's true. I need to do some cleaning out. We live in a very small condo. It's only 100 square feet. We got shit in every space that you could possibly come up with because we don't have a garage.
Right.
And if old Erin would have been like, okay, I got to do it all at once and I got to do it all in one weekend and it all has to be finished and perfect. So guess what? It never got done. So, right? New school, new tools, new way of thinking. I'm like, all right, well, let's just tackle like one little thing at a time.
Yeah.
I just allowed myself to be a little more gray. I didn't have to have it all done in one weekend.
Right.
And eventually it got done because I was just doing it a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
But we live in a society where it's got to be this or that. And so that's how everybody was raised, black or white. It can't be hard for people to be gray.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm getting called out. This is from a while ago from Why Do I Have Such a Battery? And this is twice this week. I'm just letting you know that Jamie has called me out because she's telling me if you talk to Holly, you would know why. So she called me out earlier too because Jamie has a show called Red Ribbon Spirit Work, and she has it's a site. It's a Facebook site, and she called me out because I'm on there, but I didn't advertise my show onto there or talk to people about this upcoming show. She goes, so what's everyone doing, Tom? I know you have a show coming on, blah, 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 blah. And so she called me out. So there she is calling me out again for not talking to her friend Holly that she told me to talk to a while ago to start talking about my Starseed adventures, where I'm from, where I've been at before and everything else. So once again, getting called out. Thank you, Jamie, for that. So, and she also says she grounds to the Earth Star to upload and download codes, but it's new for me. That's interesting. I don't know that. So that'd be a conversation, Jamie, that you and I have to have that I can ignore again. So,
I'm fascinated by that stuff too. I've been told an Arcturian hybrid myself.
Yeah, I've been told I'm Arcturian as well.
The downloads.
She also says I'm Pleiadian, but she also thinks that I am, and someone else has said the same thing, that they think I'm also Atlantean. So interesting.
Yep. But that's a whole nother conversation too. I mean, that's
a whole
tolerate that stuff.
Yeah. And that's your true. I mean, when I've talked to Jamie on the show, I mean, that is a whole different understanding of energy. But
it's still all the same energy.
It's still all the same energy. It's just that
amazing.
It's just that right now we have it trapped in these wonderful 3D bodies. But it's just the energy that we need to worry about, not the outside of the energy we need to worry about, because this will all fade at some point, but we will still be that energy, and that energy is going to continue to move on past this life and going to grow into another form of energy, or it's still going to be the same energy, but another form down the road. And we have to learn how to understand this energy, or at least maybe not fully understand it, because I don't think we will, but to accept it, appreciate it, and use it to the best of our abilities. Yeah. So, yeah. I
completely agree with that. And it's
like you said, need to learn to release the bad. Once we're full, we got to go. All right, got to find space.
And got to start over.
Got to find space. So yeah.
Well, and that's part of that grounding thing too. When you learn, like I use that a lot for grounding people's. When I'm clearing them out, that's where I send it.
Yeah.
Send it back to the earth.
Yeah.
But you start getting into the UFO conversation. I love that one too. That one, I'd be interested on Jamie too, because I get a lot of downloads.
Start with the soul star with that beam of light into the earth. It's earth healing stuff too.
Interesting. So on her, okay. So I love this because I have we've talked about Cody and Satori. They have, this ties in with her comment. I can see their energetic connection, right? So it's interesting she says that, because the way I see how it works, they're like a triangle, right? And Cody's on one side, Satori's on the other. there's a grounding line of energy between the two. But to Jamie's point, it starts from up there, and there's this massive beam that comes in down through the center of the triangle, down to the ground, to them and up. And I have always said this about them, that they are directly tapping into source or the collective field of consciousness. And the spirits that are connecting with them are using that huge beam of energy, almost like a guitar string or like keys to tap on.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I do see it as a giant blue beam that they are connecting with. And I think it goes all the way up.
Very cool.
All tied together. All of
Right?
it.
All of it.
All of it.
All of it. Yeah, and Jamie's saying, yeah, we all have that.
Yep.
But are they all blue? That's my question.
I don't think they're all blue. That's how I typically see it, but that's an Arcturian thing too. They work with blue energy.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. See, I don't study enough. I know a lot, but I definitely don't study enough.
I don't study. I just learned that recently. I work with a lot of chronic pain with energy. And I was given by spirit a visualization for people. And it's always used blue energy. And I don't know why. So she works with silver. So I just read like 3 or 4 days ago that the Arcturians are known for working with blue energy. And I'm like, oh, well, that makes a lot more sense now, because I don't know where that came from, but it was very specific in how I use it.
Yeah.
Or to tell people how to use it, that it had to be from them. And so that's interesting. She uses silver. I use blue. It'd be interesting if it's all tied into the star seeds.
Right. Yeah. And it's weird because I don't, wow, I see different, but when I went for a Reiki session, the 2 colors that came out the most were gold and green. Mm-hmm. And they both kind of equaled each other out as far as how much I saw them. Uh-huh. But they were 2 different times. One was very strong gold, one was very strong green. And so it's different that I saw 2 colors. But that's not the colors I see when I close my eyes, which is interesting. So a question comes up for you.
Okay.
I'm curious. I want to ask respectfully, what do you base healing based on? Or how do you prove the validity of things like healing, etc.? It seems like a very undefined area.
He's 100% correct. So for me, there was an interesting episode of Ancient Aliens. And I don't remember, I think it was like season 15, where they were actually measuring the energy that comes out of a Reiki master or a healer's hands. You're getting to the point where they're trying to start scientifically documenting how that works. But he's right. There is no way to give a baseline per se from a scientific perspective. But what I typically will do is I'm like, tell me what's going on. And people can give me as much or as little information as they want. But I do like to know, are you dealing with physical pain and where?
Right.
Are you feeling sad? Like, it just depends on how far someone wants to go down that, right? For me, if it's pain related, I use the pain scale, because I used to have a pretty intense bout of chronic pain several years with endometriosis. But if I get a baseline number for chronic pain, say it's an 8, 9, or a 10, right? And then I always tell people, I'm like, listen, this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. Reiki isn't going to fix you overnight.
Right.
You work however long. I usually tell people to at least do 3 or 4 sessions to start. We're dealing with that kind of pain. But it really depends on what the client's telling me, because a lot of times after a session, they may say, oh, I saw this, or I felt that, or I whatever. But I want to know several days from now. I want to know 48 hours, 72 hours.
Right.
How's your back feeling? How's your, and usually within about 2 months, people are seeing really huge increases in pain relief, especially like if it's like a joint, like lupus or RA, things like that. Over a month or 2 of doing energy work, they're noticing their flare-ups are less frequent. The pain scale has gone down tremendously, where they may have been an 8, they may be like a 4. Right. And that's really just from clearing that energy out. Or one of the things I have people do is every day write down 5 things that made you smile, made you happy. I don't care. Like, the dumber, the better. Like, the battery in my candles were brighter today. I don't give a shit what it is, but 5 things that are positive, right? Because basically our goal is in energy healing, really at the end of the day, is you're helping people start to redirect their neural pathways to go a different direction.
Right.
Right? That takes time. And a lot of that is meditating, sitting quietly, doing some of the suggested things an energy worker will ask you to try, whether that, like I said, meditating or visualization techniques, going for a walk, holding a crystal, whatever that may look like. You have to give yourself the best benefit of having those benefits from the energy work, because it all ties in together. So I can do a session on you, but if you're not drinking the water I ask you to do to help flush that out, and you may be trying to work on meditating, but then you're like, nah, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Your benefits may not be as great, right? You get back as much as you put in, just like the law of attraction, right? So whatever we put out, we're going to get back. And so for me, the guy, I know I kind of scrolled off, but a lot of times it's just checking in with those people after each session, or I typically follow up 2-3 days out, and then we just keep like down the line.
Right.
After someone stops sessions, we still stay in touch. Like, hey, are you still, how you feeling? But usually within about a month, people's pain levels are markedly lower. Anxiety goes down tremendously. So these are just things I can only go off based off what my clients are telling me.
Right.
How they're feeling and their personal experiences.
Right. And realize that again, you're helping them heal themselves, basically.
Exactly.
I mean, you're kind of the guide, but they're the ones who have to do the work.
You have to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you're not putting hands on and doing the miracle worker stuff to where, you're shrinking that tumor yourself by putting hands on them, but you're the one who's helping guide that person to say, look, your back is hurting you. I can tell you what you need to do spiritually to help clear your energy, get you back onto the spiritual right way. And it's going to help alleviate that pain that you're going through. But you're the one actually doing it. You are here. So you're just helping.
I'm like a facilitator.
Right. And it's funny though, because we also have the ability to heal quickly.
Yes.
And I always I always tell people, the people that know me know this. I have the Green Mile effect. Mm-hmm. I can hug someone, and I can heal someone emotionally, or I can heal someone, from loss of energy or whatever else. I can do that very quickly when I hug them, and I take in whatever their issue is, and I can hold it for them, and I can give them back positive energy, and then I can release that energy on my own at a later time.
Correct.
So, and for me, that's an immediate recognition.
Yep.
So we have both. We have the ability to do both. Hopefully that answers your question. But, Erin's healing is so much different than what I'm talking about, but they're both a form of healing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it just depends on what kind of validation you need to verify that you're getting help. You're getting the help you need.
You have to believe in the power of it too.
Right.
If you're a person who is super, this is woo-woo shit, but I'll try anything.
Yeah.
And you're like, give it a whirl and see, but you don't actually give it any credit, then it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, like you just said, I mean, basically we're giving you the tools to help you heal yourself. The body already knows what to do.
Right.
And the energy that I'm channeling is an intelligent energy. It needs little to no help from me.
Right.
But again, it's still energy. So a person who's trained can help direct it, do certain things, but individual results may vary just like anything, depending on the amount of work that someone's willing to put in.
Yeah.
And I hate to tell people this, but at the end of the day, your healing is directly going to be proportionate to the amount of shit about yourself you're willing to accept and understand you created.
Right.
Or you didn't handle. Like, I know for me, that was one of my biggest turning points, was realizing I was the biggest problem in my own life.
Right. Right.
Like, I had all these shitty coping skills, and to have to take them out and look at them one by one.
Right.
That's fun. But that's where the magic happens.
Right. So again, we get the response. Thank you. Appreciate that response. The reason I'm asking is because I come from a secular background where everything really hinges on evidence of some sort. And maybe I'm coming at healing Reiki with a misunderstanding of some sorts. But I'm kind of trying to gauge, it's a practice supported by science or a belief. Mm-hmm. It might even be a bit of both.
Both.
Now, when we're talking spiritually, whether it be organized religion or healing practices, it is in some regard a belief or a leap of faith.
Yep.
That is true. And then,
True.
And then it's followed up with, having said that, some religions will point to stuff like archaeological evidence to support the validity, or when the holy books were compared and by whom, or etc. I'm kind of trying to gauge how to support the validity of healings, but it might be a convoluted question to ask and missing the mark.
It's not.
I don't think it is.
I don't think so either.
I think it's a solid question, and I don't think it's. I think it's a very. I don't think you're missing the mark at all. I think it's a very good question. I don't think it's convoluted. I think it really comes down to, like we're talking about, are you willing to put in the work to follow what the suggestions are? I mean, worst case scenario, and this is, I mean, there are some other worst case scenarios, I guess, but one of the worst case scenarios is if you go to Erin and you ask for help, and a month later you get no results from it, then guess what? You got no results from it. Now, does that mean that she did something wrong? Does it mean that you did something wrong? No. It just necessarily means that may not have been the right response to that issue.
Right.
But you have the same thing with today's medicine. They have you try this pill. Oh, what? Guess what? That one doesn't work. Well, let's try you on something else. Oh, that would upset your stomach and makes you sick. Let's try this one. So it's kind of the same thing. And it really is, to where it depends. And you're talking about science and spiritualism. And it like she said, it's part of both. When you mention that, evidence of science, where everything hinges, comes into both science and belief.
Yep. Well, look at it this way. And you are getting a lot more people are starting to get more studies, because you are having Reiki offered as an adjunct service in hospitals now. So you're starting to get, scientific data coming through. But here's how I kind of look at it. I spent a lot of time in talk therapy, spent all kinds of money trying to get my shit together, couldn't figure it out, still depressed, crazy depressed, whatever. Modern medicine, we treat the body and we treat the mind.
Right.
What governs both of those? The soul. Who treats that? Not modern medicine.
Right.
Right? So if you take it from that standpoint, everything's a Band-Aid. A lot of things in modern medicine are a Band-Aid. Like you said, pills. Try this one. Oh, well, now I can't go to the bathroom. Okay, we'll add this one. So now you're on 30 pills. None of them are actually fixing the problem you're dealing with. And it's in fact created 20 more. Right.
Covering it up. Yeah.
I'm not anti-medication.
Right.
I'm not going to be one of those people. But if I can choose to try something, which of course in secular belief, I grew up Catholic. My parents weren't crazy Catholic, but school was crazy Catholic. One of my favorite sayings as it pertains to secular stuff and religion is, in order to find the God that made man, we have to stop following the God that man made. Now, religion is a man-made construct to keep people in line and ruled by fear. That's always been my sort of opinion of it at this point. Right. Didn't know this other side existed, where it's not a fearful, vengeful God. It's not an angry God. It's a universe. It only understands frequency and vibration. It doesn't give a shit that you want to see your Aunt Karen in a month in Rio de Janeiro. Right. It only understands vibration and frequency. So what we put out energetically is literally what we get back energetically. Yep. But it gives us a little more leeway because there's no rules, right? Religion's all rules. And of course, we live in a country where energy healing is not profitable for big pharma.
Yeah.
So therefore, they're going to continue to say, no, it's not safe. It's untested. It's, whatever, because it doesn't profit big pharma at any level and for governments. Right. So it is a leap of faith, but you can do research and start finding more scientific information. But I also understand where, from a secular point of view, it can be a bit difficult because it is literally the polar opposite of what most of us learned growing up, if you grew up in any sort of religion at all. For me, I've kind of gotten away from religion completely, but I'm not going to sit there and say that what I'm doing doesn't also count as prayer, because that's basically what I'm still doing. And it took me a long time to be okay with that.
Yeah.
12 years of Catholic school does all kinds of terrible things, especially to a female mind, right? But what I basically learned was all of those things I had been taught growing up were just things to keep me small, keep me quiet, keep me in line.
Yeah.
Right. So anything outside of that in this world, on the spiritual end of things, are things that allow me to grow, learn, accept that I'm flawed and not perfect, and be proud of who I am.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Jamie says, my nerd likes science. Sometimes the fun part of it is we don't know the answers yet. We are still searching. Quantum physics will tell you a lot. I can only understand a smidge of that, though. And that's where I come in, where we start talking about the 10 different levels, now the 11 different levels of areas we can go. So 10 of them being space, or 9 of them being space, 1 of them being a time continuum. So this is where I roll. But going back on what you're talking about, I can even do science to science with this. And the way I can do science to science with this is, how many doctors still do not recommend something that has shown relief, like acupuncture or chiropractic? That's
because you can't write a prescription for that.
Right. But there's so many people in the scientific world that still believe those are false. You shouldn't be using those. They're the only way they work is if you believe in them, because you're believing it in your head. That's a science to science. So that's not even a science to spiritual. That literally is, taking one thing and turning it into another through science. And that's kind of where we sit with this. Is what we're doing now, is what you're doing right now, is that going to be the science in 50 years? It could very well be. It could be that they said, you know what, it's going to be it's more going to be along the lines of a well-being, heal thyself type method than a let us try to heal you with pills type of method. And
that's exactly right.
Right. And so so many people are already on that belief, or already have that understanding, that to them that is the new science.
Yeah. Well, think about it.
It's not even spiritual anymore. It is a science. Why do people go to retreats to relax? Why do people go just simple day massages or day spas for people that go? Why do people go and get a manicure or a pedicure? It does something for their energy. It releases those endorphins, science again, and actually allows you to be in a better mood. It brings your spirits up. It's all that little wonderful stuff that you're basically doing by helping someone try to cure or try to better their chronic illness or the illnesses they have, or release that energy so they can start over again and get back to where they're comfortable. And it's all the same thing as far as I'm reading it here. It's just that right now, what you're doing is chiropractor 50 years ago. Well,
look at this. We live in a world where at a very young age, the decisions are made for us.
Right.
Our parents took us to doctors. Doctors had all the answers, and their family was that way. Keep going back generations. The doctors were the only ones that had any answers, and medication was the only fix, right? So from the time we're basically born, we're already giving away our power, and we've already told our bodies that we can't heal ourselves because only the doctors and medications can do it, because that's all we've known.
Right.
So I think, to your point, 50 years from now, I think what's happening now is people are starting to take their power back. And with taking that power back also comes the realization that, yes, you hold the power to heal yourself. You just need someone to kind of shake it out of you a little bit first, get you cleared out, get you the tools, and then you're off to the races, right? Yeah. So in 50 years, hopefully people have taken more of their own power back, and they can have more options, because from state to state, they're calling them safe harbor laws. Florida doesn't have one where you can do this stuff, right? Because again, if the government or the powers that be, the money, whatever, realize how much control the individual actually has over their own healing, health, stuff like that.
Right.
It's terrifying to them. People like me scare people like them.
Right.
Because I don't need to write you a prescription to feel better. I just need you to do a couple things to, drink a little more water, do a couple of sessions, learn how to meditate. Little basic things that don't take you that much time, that cost you just with the session, and that's it.
Right.
That doesn't factor so well into our capitalistic society.
Right.
So
he writes back, that's an excellent response, and one that rings true for many aspects of human life. Nothing can be the fix for everyone equally, and I have And having change requires putting forth in effort and work. I appreciate you guys taking the time to answer the questions. I can't say I agree on all of you guys' sentiments, but I appreciate the dialogue and hopefully respectfully disagree. If nothing else, hopefully it gives me a better idea of Reiki and healing moving forward, and in turn, a bit more open-mindedness. Now, I appreciate that comment, and I can tell you wholeheartedly,
That's the best.
you are absolutely more than welcome to disagree.
Yep.
And that's kind of, I mean, that's an allowance that we all have. All we're doing is giving an opinion.
Yep.
And you know, that's all they are. They're not going to ring true for everybody, which is perfectly fine. And I appreciate you coming on here and asking the questions and making the comments. I actually love that a lot.
Me too.
I love that dialogue between me, my guests, and the audience. I really appreciate that. So
you want people to have a space where they can do that.
Yeah. But I also appreciate the fact that you're willing to look at possibly being more open-minded as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe research stuff a little further and go, all right, the 2 nutcases I just talked to on the show, all of a sudden sparked an interest in me, and either I'm going to try to find out if they're right, or I'm going to try to find out if they're wrong. So maybe it spurs you to do some research and, you know, kind of find an answer for yourself. But at least it gives a charge to putting forth the effort to find out. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, that and it's proof that people can have civil conversations, and they don't have to agree on everything. If everybody agreed on everything, that would be shitty and boring.
Goodness, right?
But you don't have to be mad.
Discussing things. It's awesome.
It's true.
And I apologize because you came onto my show and I am really a nerd. So I can really talk about pretty much anything that you bring up.
Wait, listen, man, you know me well enough to know I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, right.
I somehow showed up on this crazy paranormal train, and it just kind of drops me off places. And so I'm just always excited to be here. And if we can't have discussions that tie in things like science and differing opinions, then we're not doing it right.
So why are we having the show?
Exactly.
Right.
That's why it's called Stuff I Never Learned from a School Book.
Right.
See?
That because no one told me that I was going to be hearing voices in my head when I was in school. So. But yes, there's that too. But you know, details.
That's a whole other thing.
Right. That's a whole other conversation for another time. So.
Oh, that's so true.
Oh,
it's so true.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap our show up. We've actually been talking for a little over an hour and a half. Believe it or not.
Holy cow! It never seems like that when I'm on with you at all.
It never does. It just kind of flies right by. I know. I had to look up the clock, and I'm like, "Whoa!" So it's like, all right. And you're on the East Coast, so you're an hour ahead of me. So it's already 9:34 for you. So, but you know me, and you know me with you, which means you're going to be back on my show again.
I love it.
And then we're gonna. Although right now you claim you have nothing really going on after the Halloween. I know that's a whole loaded hooey. She actually came out and said, I have something, but I just can't tell you about it right now. So we'll get that story out later too. But yeah, so everyone say goodnight to Erin. Thank you for coming out. Well, don't leave yet.
Not leaving.
Once again, this right here is where you need to go, to those 2 sites. Erin's site, that's all about Erin. Go there. Learn about Erin if you still want to know more after the show today we had. Go there.
If you think she's crazy, also go there now.
But you can go there and learn about all the stuff she's talking about the healing energy and what she has to offer, everything else. And all of this does not need to be done in person. People need to understand that. This
quantum entanglement, baby.
Actually be done like this.
Yep.
So you do not have to go knock on her door and say, hey, I'm here.
I'm here.
You can just log into like this and go, hey, I'm here for my appointment.
Yep.
And, you know, it's better because this way when she closes the door, it's not right in your face.
When you can be in your own bed.
Right.
Comfortable in your
PJs. Exactly.
Whatever.
You don't have to drive in the rain or go out to Florida in the heat and the humidity. So yes, much better. And then if you want to go find out everything that's going on paranormal, you go right to that Thriller Events, www.thriller.events, and go there to where she helps post and let everyone know what's going on out there as well. So go out there and check out that site. And you saw the cool little paranormal stuff coming up. The only site, as she stated, that's out there that is just designed for paranormal events that are going on.
Yep.
Not just listed under other, as everything else is. So go visit her at both of these sites, learn about her, learn about other stuff. So there you go. But anyways, thank you for being on the show. As always, I love having you on. As I always say to you in our messaging, you are a wonderful, fantastic soul, and I love you. So say goodnight to everybody. Don't go anywhere because I'll be back in to talk to you in a minute.
Yes.
We are having people saying goodnight to you. Thanks. Bye. Hi.
Nice to see you. Thank you for having me. It's always an honor.
Interesting stuff. Food for thought. Wish you guys the very best. I'll definitely check out some of Erin's stuff. Outstanding. Appreciate that. Much love. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. I'll be right back with you. And
thank you again. It's always an honor to be here with you. I'm always grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah. If we had more time, we'd bring in the puppy. But
I know.
So we'll do that next show.
Sleep.
Well, yeah, right. We'll do that next show in the beginning, so that we can go to sleep. So, all right, I'll see you back in a second. So, all right, everyone, that's the show tonight. Thank you for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. As you know, Stuff I Never Learned from a Schoolbook is on Monday nights, 7 p.m. Central, just as it says right down there somewhere. Next Monday, since it is Halloween, I am not going to have a show. I will actually not even be in the States or in here. I actually have to go to work for Halloween in another state, so that kind of blows. But the following week, I will have on Michelle Roos, an absolutely fantastic woman. Her and Erin, I normally have on together because back to back, those two, oh my goodness, they're like dynamite. It's fantastic. So she's going to be on the 7th of November. Look for all the advertisements coming out for that. But as far as this week goes, have a great week. Have a great evening. Look forward to seeing everyone in a couple of weeks. Enjoy your Halloween. Make sure you all stay safe and give out all the good candy. None of this little half-ass candy corn bull crap that you made. Give the good stuff out to the kids. They deserve it. Unless you know them personally and think they're snots, then give them apples. But other than that, have a great couple of weeks. I love you all, and I will talk to you soon.